Picked out 3 that I've seen some things on that were maybe a little bit off. So I'm going to talk about those 3, and then I'm going to have you get into your groups and compare what you've gotten so far, and then try to finish up backside. Now, Tony, ahead of time, we're necessarily at a mastery stage right now with some of these. Obviously, we haven't talked about these at all this year. You've seen these rules before, but it's probably been a little bit. So if you're struggling a little bit with it, don't get too caught up and feel like, oh, I should know these exactly right now. Now, after a week or so of doing this, if we don't know what's going on, then that's a problem. But right now, we're just kind of reviewing and hopefully learning some things with it. But on number 7 here, one thing you have to be careful of, and the number 1 error I saw was if we have parentheses and everything's to a certain exponent, that means everything inside the parentheses has to get that exponent. So I saw a lot of you doing like x to the 5th to the -2 and got x to the -10. You did y to the -4th to the -2, so you got y to the 8th. Both of those are correct, but a lot of you were forgetting this -8 also gets that exponent of -2. So I still have -8 to the -2 that also goes with that. So essentially, we've done the eliminating parentheses part. Combining like terms, well, we got x's and y's, so there's nothing really to do there. But we do have some negative exponents we've got to take care of. So as I go through, I got -8 to the -2 power, which becomes -8 squared in the denominator. I've got x to the -10, which will become x to the +10 in the denominator. And then y to the 8th is already positive, so I don't have to move that. So really, other than doing -8 squared, I'm done. And -8 squared, we know is 64. So this would be our simplified expression, y to the 8th over 64, x to the 10th. So just be careful. If it has parentheses around it, make sure everything in the parentheses gets that exponent. So that same idea pops up on number 10. We want to make sure all of those things get that exponent, in this case, -2. Well, before I attack this one, though, if I were to make everything to the -2 power here, that's going to give me 3 things that are all negative. And all 3 of those things I'm now going to have to move down to the denominator. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to save myself a little bit of work right now. Because if the entire thing is to the -2 power, that means I should be able to move the entire thing to the denominator and make it the +2 power. What would I put on top of it? 1. Plus, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other one because the entire thing would have negative exponents. So I'm going to move the entire thing to the denominator, make it cubed, and put that over 1. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You could have made everything to the -2 power and then rearranged it. All right, so let's see what we have if we actually did square that bottom. Well, I'm going to have 16 x to the 6th, y to the 12. On the other one, when I cube all those, I'm going to have 2 cubed or 8 x to the 6th, y to the 12. So I took care of the parentheses. I've done the negative exponents. Now I'm looking to combine like terms. This one's nice because x to the 6th, y to the 12th are like terms. So I'm going to add those 2 things together. If I'm going to do that, though, I need to have common denominators. So I have 16 on this one, x to the 6th, y to the 12th. Here I have 8 x to the 6th, y to the 12th. So I need to make this 16, which means I need to make this 2. So finally, when I put it together, I got 1 plus 2 or 3 over 16, x to the 6th, y to the 12th. So that was tough. Right now, that's probably a little bit beyond what I'm expecting you to be comfortable with. All right, one other one to make sure you're doing the division problems correctly. Number 17, I just chose one of them, but on 17, we've got this division problem. And we said if we're dividing in terms of exponents, we're going to subtract the exponents. But in terms of whole numbers, or the coefficients, I'm just dividing like normal. So I got 32 divided by 8, which comes out a nice neat 4. I got 8 to the 5th divided by 8 to the negative 2. So if I subtract those, I got 5 minus the negative 2. So I've got 7. Here I've got negative 3 minus the 6. So I have b to the negative 9th power. And so I need to move that negative 9 down, and I get this. That's one way of thinking about it. Sometimes what I like to do on a problem like this, though, I know I don't want negative exponents, so I take care of those at the beginning. So if I looked at this one, I might say, well, I'm going to rewrite this, and any negative exponents I'm going to go ahead and move now. So I've got a to the 5th, which would stay there. I got b to the negative 3, which would become b cubed down here. Down here I have 8. If I move this, because it's negative, it becomes a squared. This one's still positive, so I leave it alone. And so now I can get my answer fairly quickly. Still the 32 divided by 8, but I got a to the 5th times a squared, so I get to that. B to the 6th times b cubed, and that gives me the b. So just another way maybe of thinking about that one. All right, so like I said, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you move into your groups, compare the answers that you've gotten so far, and then I'm going to put the solutions to the front side in the back there. So for any that you disagree on and you're not quite sure what the answer should be, you can go back to the back. Just send one group member back to the back to check at those so we don't have 25 people back there. And then try to finish up the back if you haven't got to the back yet. Compare what you've got from the front side first before you're moving on.
Okay, so number 1, I got 1 over next to this power. 32.
Oh no, I didn't.
No, 1 over 9. Did you? I did that wrong, like you did, right? No, that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I think it would be,
Yeah.
what you did. Yeah, I get it. Well, well, yeah, disagree is hard to do. So there's like connected. So this would be followed. You good, Jack?